Thank you very much. It's a delight once more to be part of this initiative, especially for a company that is doing an amazing job in our country today in Nigeria, Upskill Educational Initiative. And I think this is the way to go in our country if we must improve our educational sector in Nigeria and the products that we've been releasing over time. And the truth is that we have every potential to get better in what we do as a country and as a people. So the issues we're going to be looking at today is designing lesson that sticks, reducing cognitive overload in the classroom. And I'll quickly do a little of background. Just saying that teaching is not just about delivering information, it's about ensuring that knowledge sticks. And most often than not, if you check what is happening and the rate at which our students are performing in WAEC and other external examinations, external bodies examination in Nigeria today, we can all agree that we are not yet there. And when we are dangling between 35% pass mark in WAEC and other subjects, we know that we have a long way to go. We are in the last 7 years now, we are between 35 and 42, as the case may be. So that means we have quite a lot to do as a country. So it's not just about delivering information in the classroom. It's not just about teaching the students to pass examination, but knowledge that sticks. Often lessons fail not because students are lazy or incapable, but because lesson designs overwhelms the cognitive capacity. And I think this is one area that we must begin to look at when we begin to overload the students with cognitive aspects in the classroom during our lesson. We just dump everything on the students, not knowing or not putting into cognizance that these students learn at different levels. They learn at different levels. The level of assimilation differs. And so it's very important that we begin to pay attention to that. If truly our lessons or what we teach must stick. To teach effectively, we must also understand how the human brain processes information. This is very key. This is scientific anyway, and we must begin to go into it and put narratives around that as well. And design lessons that reduces overload, making learning meaningful and learning and lasting. So we're going to jump straight into it by understanding the cognitive load. So what does the cognitive load theory say? It suggests that working memory has a limited capacity. It has a limited capacity, and that's the truth. It has a limited capacity, and we must begin to know what we need to do in the classroom. So there are basically types of this cognitive load. We have the intrinsic load, which naturally will say the natural difficulty of the material. Algebra is harder than spelling. So we cannot go into the lesson activities teaching algebra the same way we are going to be teaching spelling. Then we'll also look at the extraneous load. Those are the loads that come from outside, distracting or poor teaching designs, both from the teacher, the educator, and the student's point of view. This complicates learning. Everything is clustered together, and because educators also are running against time, they just dump everything on the student. The germane load, this is the good one, mental effort that helps learners build schemas around to connect knowledge, which is very, very good. So why do we have lessons that do not stick? I've mentioned one or two things in that regard. Number one that I've mentioned is that overloading students with too many ideas at once. Colleagues that are on this call this morning, it's vitally important that we begin to design modules that will help our students to retain learning, just like has been done in some of the countries that we are looking up to now. the Singapores of this world, the Malaysians of this world, the Finland of this world begin to actually copy what is good that can, in our own immediate environment, according to our own philosophy, according to our own climate, things that we work, and not just dump everything on the students, which is the that is going on now, because everybody is racing against time, not against time to complete the modules, the schemes, to meeting up with the examination timetable. And all this is being done because of lack of poor lesson planning. I must say that again, because of lack of poor lesson planning. Well, to a large extent, we will say that some of the things that we learned when we were in school are not, some of them are not really practical these days. So a lot of effort needs to go into teaching and retraining our educators. Very important. So we must begin to present content without connecting by connecting them to prior knowledge. Now, most of you that are not, when educator gets into class, they just look, okay, last week we did so and so, we did so and so and so. They are not really connecting that topic that is going into the next learning activity, which is very important. So also using teaching methods that divide attention. And if you check our educators today, you have so many learning, so many things on each slide. And the students, you find out the students immediately will have issues connecting with that. Ignoring processing time also has its own issue. Rushing through without practice or reflection. As a matter of fact, thank God for some schools that are already in the thinking school, which we are one as well, where we allow the students to also have a time to reflect on what they've been taught in class, which is very key. And I think all schools should begin to look into that, allowing the students to have a time to reflect. Okay, so strategies for designing lesson that stick. So we begin now to look at strategies. Number one that I have is chunking and sequencing. And I will explain it very quickly. Breaking content into small, manageable parts. We must begin to do that. We must begin to break our lessons, our plan into specific things that we need to learn at a time, not to overburden and overload the students. And when we do that, most of the time, and the students are also copying notes on the board at the same time, whether you use the Wobby board, the Promethean board, or any of these devices that we have in our classrooms today. The students are preoccupied by quickly copying the note into small manageable parts. Teach one concept at a time before moving on. Why do we need to rush when the students have not gotten the concept? Is it to justify that we have finished our lessons? Today, it will have been seen that I've done all this guarantee. I'm leaving the students and allowing them to get what they should get before moving on. And I put an example. I said, why not let us break it down into esophagus, then later we treat stomach, later we teach the intestine part of it, then before we go to the absorption part of it. By the time we take all these things into different and take
We're sorry for this slight glitch. Technical crew is working on it.
Take the digestive system as a whole with them that will allow them to test. Now, that visual, now it can be you lost me for a bit.
Yes, you
can
did.
You hear me?
No, we didn't hear. Okay.
So I was talking about
3 seconds are crucial.
It was just for a second, so I'll take it back quickly. So I was talking about dual coding, visual and verbal, and I said that we must begin to combine visual with see image. When they see videos, retain, according to science, about 7 out of 10, 7 over 10, as against when it's all about written, that the student can only between 3 and 4 over 10. So some of this they remember, and that's true. So all we need to do is just begin to small short videos that can to the topic that we are teaching. Under the sun, one get a video that will assist us in delivering our subject area or topic on YouTube and other medias, Khan Academy and the rest that we cannot see. I can develop one on our own, just about 2-3 minutes clip, and the student will see it, and it will make our lesson even much more interactive. It will make our lesson very much enjoyable by the students. So you show a diagram of the water cycle while explaining, rather than teach water cycle with those diagrams the way we were being taught some years back. Please pardon me by our catechist teachers in those days, those people that taught us while we were doing our grade 2, our grade 3, the way they would draw the water cycle for us, and we'll try to memorize, because that was majorly what we did in those days. But when the students see the image of that, the video of the water cycle on the screen, it will retain. The students will be able to relate in the physical way within the theory as we teach them along. Use worked examples, module step-by-step solution before asking students to try. This one, I struggle with this one when I say step by some authorities in the educational field have also said that even at that point as well, we can allow the student to try even before the teacher. While one of the proponents of education said, them bring out the knowledge that is already on the inside of them, that our job is like a midwife. Some people are already saying that what we need to do in class basically is to facilitate learning, is to help the students to bring what they already have on the inside of them, which I can but agree with to a large extent. So what we do is to guide them, to help them to bring it up one after the other. Okay, and I said number 4 here, scaffolding and gradual release. We need to begin as a people, as an industry, when we teach with a conscious effort, with a knowing that we move from I do. When the teacher comes into the class as the sole authority in the classroom, we need to move to we do. Have an inclusive learning environment with the students, because there is so much to learn from these students as well, whether in the public sector or in the private sector. We have so many things to learn from. I was one of the public schools here in Abuja about 2 weeks ago, And I was fascinated, I was amazed with the quality of work that is going on there. And because we have always been having this notion, this mindset that core serious work is only being done in private school. I beg to differ, because that's not true. A lot is also going on at the public sector. A lot is going on with more of what we have in the public and private sector, more of the gadgets, the technology that we have. If they have half of what we are using, and I can say that they also will do better. So we move from I do to we do, then back to the student that you do, because ultimately it's the student that is going to write the examination. And he needs to enter that examination room with a confidence that I already know what I need or need to do in the course of my writing the examination. He's not entering the examination with the notion that I just want to download what my teacher has taught me, and the one we call in those days Agberu Beso. I know some of the panelists will know what I mean by Agberu Beso. As you have poured it in your head, you just download it like that to the student. No, the student write also from the point of, after giving you the definition and every other concept, the student now has the capacity to write, depending on the way the question is asked, to download even from a personal point of view. This will happen. I remember when writing an exam when I was in the university, there was a particular topic that I did study very well in one of the computer studies that I did in those days, one of the courses. And to be candid, I had challenges in that time attending that lecture because I was involved with some other things. You won't believe it that I had to write that examination based on my residual knowledge, practical experience of that course. So when I finished that examination, the lecturer sent for me and said, sorry, how did you know all these things? I said, I merely wrote from the practical point of view with some of the items, some of the notes that you had given us. And we need to begin to put our students into that same line as well. In writing, demonstrate with a paragraph, then concrete one with the class, concretize it with the class, then ask the student to write independently. Ask them to write independently. As a matter of fact, so many schools are already doing what we call allowing the student to form the notes by themselves. That is their major notes. They allow the students to form. We give them notes which are already pre-given to them, but during lesson, the students will have to make the note while the teacher is talking. So he's not preoccupied by completely raising to copy the note that is being shown on the slide. No, the student is also forming his own note while the teacher teaches in the classroom. That is very, very key. That lesson will stick because from the knowledge the student is getting from the class, and by the time the teacher is doing the summary, the conclusion of that lesson, the student will now be able to look at areas where he has missed it and put it aside, remove the dots and the highs where necessary. Okay, reduce extraneous loads. Avoid cluster slides. I've mentioned that before. Majority of us adults are guilty when we want to have a presentation, not to talk of educators in the class. They just, you don't even know which one to pick or which one not to pick. Keep directions clear and simple. Clear and simple. We have a primary school in my school here, and one day I just decided to move out of my office just to go and observe the way the little ones are learning, and they were doing one thing at a time. So at the time the educator left them alone, pretending to be doing something else, and I was amazed at how these younger ones were being able to pick what has been taught one after the other, because the educator did not give them so many things to do at the same time. We normally say that students, most of the time, all they do is they are not married, they are not doing house rent, they are not there. But they have other things beclouding their minds as well. The social medias of this world is also beclouding their mind. And don't let us forget that some of them have emotional issues arising from the home front that they bring to school unknown to us. And when we want to teach and the student is not adjusting to what we're doing, we get angry, not knowing that the student also has issues that is bothering. So when they learn one at a time, that lesson sticks. Use one main idea per slide, per discussion, or per activities. Okay? Activate prior knowledge. That prior knowledge is very, very important. When I was in the class, I still teach, but when I was in the class actively, and I get to a particular topic that I needed to teach, the first question I'll ask the student will give me an idea whether I should proceed with that topic or not. Because the first question I will ask will take them back to what they've learned, because what they've learned that has co-curricular relationship with that new topic, if they don't get it right, they cannot move on. But what we do these days, we just rush everything over. This we need to address and change. Begin lesson by linking to what students already know. Very, very key. Before teaching fractions, review divisions and parts as a whole. Spaced practice and retrieval. Spread review of key content over time instead of cramming. I've mentioned that. If you check what is affecting our students these days, it's more of cramming. It's more of cramming, and I mentioned it using the local balance, which we need to get outside of. Ask frequent retrieval questions, like I mentioned the other time. That retrieval questions is deliberate. The educator must just learn how to do that. That retrieval question will tell you whether to proceed in the new topic or not. You have your supervisor that will explain to, sir, I'm having this challenge in this topic, and all I need to do is just to quickly do a little of background check to make sure that before I proceed to the other one, that the students have had the capacity to do it very well. Okay, without looking at your notes, explain what photosynthesis is. Without looking at your notes, that is very, very key. They don't have to look at their notes before, and they don't need to give you that photosynthesis answer just by giving it the exact way you are. What you are testing at that point is the knowledge of those students at that time, is the knowledge that they've acquired regarding photosynthesis. Use analogies and stories. Even as leaders, I'm happy that you have some of my colleagues on the platform there. Even as leaders, when we're addressing the students in the morning, when we start our Monday briefing with the students, Monday assemblies. In my school, we call it the principal assembly. When we start like that in the morning, when you do them a 3 minutes short story, it appeals to their conscience. It appeals to them, and because you are bringing it from a point of, I can relate to what you feel you want to dish out to them. Okay, you are trying to tell the students they should not laugh at some other students, they should not laugh at other students, but you can quickly do a short story of how a young man has been suffering at home because of the parents' inadequacies regarding funds. And then you can, that boy at the end of the day did not do so well in his academics. The students will become quiet and they will listen. That message will stick before you now tell them, okay, and so when you see a child that is looking somehow, don't laugh at him. Don't do this. They can, at that point, relate, which is very, very good for their learning experience. Connect abstract ideas to real-world context that I've mentioned. Teach electricity using water flow as an analogy. All those I've tried to mention in the course of this presentation. Encourage student talk. Aha. Now, I think this one will need a debate somehow, but I have where I belong, which I will let you know. I once was told of a school principal when walking around, if the students are with the teacher engaged in a serious class activities, the students are an organized one, not a rowdy one though. They are talking and talking. The principal is angry that he needs a quiet environment where the students will learn. Okay. Then another school of thought, another principal was of the opinion that he wants a classroom activities where the students can also discuss with the teacher in class. So, Adenari, where do you belong? I belong that we should manage the two at the same time. We should put the two together where students can collaborate in the classroom. They just must collaborate. That is where the world is now. When they leave Nigeria and they travel abroad, all they do, almost 90%, aside the technologies and other things, even the technologies, they still collaborate. They put them into small groups. And because that's where the world is going. Let's begin to teach our students in that line as well. Some years back, I introduced a system, many years ago, when I was on Pan Atlantic, many years ago. And then we said, my students are not going to be sitting, I was a vice principal there, they're not going to be sitting in the missionary form anymore. The Orthodox way, all of them facing the board. Let them sit in small groups, where they can correlate ideas, where they can help one another. And after that one, you also allow one of them to come up and share his experience to teach the rest of the class. It is proven that when students teach one another, they learn faster than when the educator in class is teaching. They learn faster. So we need to start encouraging them. All we need to do is to guide them. Like I said, our job is more of facilitating. We facilitate learning. After input, let students explain in peers or in small groups, talking through concepts, lightening cognitive load by shifting information into long-term memory. Pause and reflect. Building processing pauses, it is very key. Just pause at a time and allow them to give you some level of feedback. Don't wait for the time of evaluation where they will now write examination or test and then you mark them wrong. Not because they don't know it, but because you've clustered them so many things together at the same time. After a 10-minute explanation, our students will write down the 3 key points they can remember. Very, very key. 3 key points they can remember during the lesson. And then by the time they start giving you those feedback, you'll have done a very good job to those students. Real life situation. They learn better when lesson connects to their daily lives. I've mentioned that as well. When it can connect to their real life experiences, it helps them to understand abstract concepts. Applications build relevance. It builds interest. And it brings long-term retention. It brings long-term retention. Instead of teaching percentage only on paper, show them how discount works in shopping. Okay, you want to buy 100 naira worth or something at the shop. Okay, so can somebody give me a 100 naira note? They bring out the 100 naira notes. Okay, now you are now asking for the owner of the shop to give you at least a discount. And the owner is saying, okay, I can only give you 10% of that 100. So you begin to say, so if I'm giving the man 100 naira, how much should the man return back to me? And you're able to say, if that would be 10 naira. So okay, by so doing, not just during the class alone, but so bring out the currency, let them feel it, let them know what you're talking about. Some schools are already going ahead to teach students about these practical life experiences in school, which I think majority of us must emulate. We are not just teaching these students to pass examination, we are teaching them into a real life context. It's a real life situation where when they leave school, it is not like everything that they learn in school died with the school. Some of us fell into that category. That was the way we were taught. But the world is changing. The world is moving very, very fast. We should not allow Nigeria to be left behind. Instead of teaching percentage, I've mentioned that a math class can explore 20% of 5,000 shoes to calculate the savings. So we need to begin to give them these practical experiences, practical steps. Now, these are the practical steps that we need to put into perspective now. Start lesson with a hook that connects the prior knowledge. I have said that. Never jump into any lesson that is abstract, that is unknown, that does not have any co-curricular link with the students. Because if you do that, it's like taking them into the middle of an ocean and asking them to swim. Let me repeat that. When you do that, you are taking them to the middle of the ocean and you are insisting they must swim without teaching them the prerequisites, the kicking, the gliding, the staying afloat from that shallow end before moving them to the deep end. That will not retain what they need to learn. Present information in small bits. That we've mentioned. Support by visuals. Please, educators on this call this morning, 3 minutes, 2 minutes visual, do that. It is very, very important. If you don't have the capacity to show video, if you have a laptop, you can place it in front of the class and put them into small groups. You can achieve some things. Even if it's audio, you can use your phone connected to a small speaker, and then you give it to the students. The students will learn. And what you are teaching them at that point, it is not just the written form. The world has gone beyond teaching in the written form. Almost 80% of learning in Finland is done outside of the classroom. It's done outside of the classroom. Any wonder they are being regarded as one of the highest cognitive learning environments in the world today. Use interactive questioning instead of a long lecture. Small questioning that you can relate with the student, and never condemn them. Okay, if you do it this way, what do you get? Okay, can we do it in this way as well? What do you think? Lead them until they finally arrive at the answer. To be a teacher in the 21st century, you must employ lots of patience, because we have students these days that really want to express themselves. You allow them to express themselves in a guided format. Give guided practice before independent work. Give guided practice before you give them that independent work. Reinforce learning through summarizing, reflection, and regular recall. I told you before that always allow them to have that quiet moment where, when after the lesson has been done, maybe just about 2-3 minutes, if you plan your lessons very well, and allow them to reflect, allow them to recall, because you did not cluster the lesson, and it's going to allow them to learn very well. In conclusion, if you want learning to stick, we must teach with the brain in mind, reducing the amount of things that the brain can process at a time. Reduce unnecessary overload. Design lessons with clarity, structure, and opportunities for practice. Help students move from just hearing to deeply understand. I can tell you that the students we have in Nigeria, they are not different from the students in America. They are not different from students in UK. Let me shock you. Let me give you just this one quickly. Some years ago, I traveled to the UK, and I met one young man, David. David was just about 4 years old. And we noticed that David could do so many things with computers, with everything. And I began to wonder, is it that the head of David is different from a 4-year-old in the UK, different from the head of a 4-year-old in Nigeria? Because when they gave David an iPad to read newspaper, you can read news on newspapers online as well. David was just flipping through it, scrolling through it with easy access. It was so easy for him. So I began to think, and I said, I need to experiment this. So what makes this young man so intelligent? So I got back to the country. I called a friend. I said, please, supply me some tablets. I could not afford the iPad, but I could get Samsung of this one, I could get Techno of this one. And I distributed them to my children. To my amazement, my children did exactly what they are doing in UK. So all our children need is just that leverage, or the same opportunity to get some of those gadgets and tools to do that. And when we give them those things, be patient with them. Don't forget that they are the digital natives. They are the digital natives. This is their dispensation. So when you give them anything, they learn faster than we do. And at the end of the day, you can even learn from them. So when we design lesson at 6, we don't just teach for today, we prepare our learners for tomorrow. At this point, I would like to take a pause and then go on even with other questions as the time goes on. Thank you very much. I'll be available to get other reactions as depending on any area that I need to bring clarity. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Dinaribo. Thank you so much. I mean, that was a mouthful. That's like an encyclopedia. You must have compressed so much into these 25 minutes, 30 minutes that you've been addressing us. And I'm not going to say too much. All Mr. Dinaribo has been saying to us, what I hear him say is that at the heart of teaching is the learner. Whatever we are doing, we must have the learners in mind, their capability, their emotional stability, their personality, and everything that defines the learner. We cannot overlook. Thank you so much, Mr. Dinaribo. This is just the beginning. I'm going to hand over to, I'm just going to call her Mr. I'm not going to try so that I just don't murder that name until I practice and I get better and I become very good. So I'm going to hand you over to her. She's going to say a little about what Mr. Dinaribo has said, and then she's going to go into what she has for us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everyone. And happy independence. Mr. Dinaribo has really done justice to the topic. He has covered all areas. Talk about cognitive overload, how it can be reduced in classrooms. Talk about trunking, scaffolding, activation of prior knowledge, and so on and so forth. Yes. And I have been emphasizing on the students' hands-on activities. Their classes has to be practical. The era of technology is an advancement of our basic education. Right in our primary school days, we used to have a provision corner where we have buying and selling, cost price, sales price, profit and loss, and it sticks to our brains. And I think 75% of the knowledge we have today is based on our foundation. And I think every teacher should go back to the basics. We should all go back to the basics. We should use technology to practice what we have been doing in those days. The era of technology has really made our teaching very easy and easier. You don't have to go to the streets picking times, picking cherry seed. We have abacus. We have a lot of things we can do. So our classes must be interesting. And then I was thinking about this topic with someone not quite long ago. And here's what she said. That's Nigerian mentality. Every parent, every teacher wants a year-old student or a year-old girl or boy to know everything, which is wrong. We should take it a step at a time. I remember when my daughter was growing at age 2, she's very fantastic with colors, shapes. And one day somebody now said, you think you know it all. So she brought out different colors. And she was asking, she was saying color blue, color red, color yellow. And it gets to one particular color. She was taught. She was looking at the person. And she was like, what's this? I said, this color marker. Because all the ones that have been presented were different colors in markers, and it was ash color. So I think she's not familiar with that particular color. And because our brain is getting to the color marker, and we all laughed over it. So that's It's our expectation as teachers. We want them to know everything. But our lessons should be taken step by step. We should take it step by step in a way that we relate the previous knowledge to the current topic. So it is when we are sure that they have mastered what we have taught them in the past before we can move in to the next topic. And I think practical activities enhances progress in teaching. So our classes must be made practical, must be made interesting. The student must be carried along. We should not be a broadcaster in classroom. We should give them opportunity to talk, to participate. I think I'll say I have just few minutes.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Thank you so much. So you're going to take us into your own segment now, and you're talking to us about, we're still talking about this cognitive, cognition. Let me put it that way. And I'm not going to say too much, but when we talk cognition, I'll tell you a simple definition is bringing it from behind your ears to the paper, to the board, or to the world. When you understand something, because I think that's cognition, when you understand it and you can apply it and you can actually express it so that everybody else knows what you know and can relate with you. I think that is cognition. But we are going to take us deeper into that. I'm so eager to hear what you have to say.
Thank you very much. When we talk about cognition, it has to do with our preparation before coming to the classroom. Be fully prepared. Your lessons has to be very, very interesting. You have to address the mind of your audience, your students, and you have to deliver it in a way that their brain can process it. If you deliver your lesson in an advanced way, in a way that it will be too cumbersome for them to understand, they become confused. And once they have missed the first step, definitely all other things you are saying, you're just talking to the air. Yes, they will be lost. So you have to carry them along, make it quite interesting, introduce it in a way that it will stick and remain there forever. He was asking me when I was still a classroom teacher, Auntie, how do you get to know all this? I said, I learned it when I was your age. Like my biology teacher, Mr. Agaji, when there was a time he was talking about communicable diseases. He has spoken all the grammar, everything, and he gave us the first test on that particular topic. Just like 20% of us did very well. So when he came back the next time, he turned it into a joke. And I said, let me say, he put it in the practical aspect and said majority of the Yoruba women are gossipers. And then when they take their children to the clinic for maybe clean their normal routine, they will see another person with a child having tuberculosis. Instead of them to mind what they are going to do, they go and prognose. Yeah, Lamaja. Why your picking, they do like, you understand? Then the picking will start, the baby will start coming. Before you know it, the child she's backing has already contacted that disease. So when she gets back home, she will notice that this baby is running temperature, she's coughing, taking her back to the hospital, she has tuberculosis. So we laughed over it, but then we understood what he was trying to explain to us. So when the amount of information you give to your learners are too complex for their brain to retain, there is no way it will stick. But when you make it simpler, you make it in a way that is quite interesting, it will arouse their interest in that particular lesson and make them to understand. And remember, Sometimes when you hear something, you might forget. Sometimes when you see something, your vision might disappoint you. But the activities you participate on remains there forever because you are part of that activity.
So, that is the cognitive overload. He talked about chunking, sequencing, and all of that. Talk to us about how you practicalize cognitive. How cognition can become a practiced practice. In class. How would the teacher now do this thing? You've talked about telling a story, but I don't think that is all there is to cognition. I believe that there is so much more to helping children to understand concepts being taught. Please talk to us about that.
Yeah. I'm still going back to what Mr. Adenaru has said, talk about jumping. Your lessons has to be broken down into smaller, manageable chunks. You pick it up a point at a time, step by step. Then we move into scaffolding. That is, you provide guidance and support to your learners. You don't expect them to understand and know everything. So you have to support them, bringing them back to the prior knowledge of
everything I did this morning. I have connection. Okay.
Activation of prior knowledge. So you assist them to understand the prior knowledge to create foundation for that new topic you want to introduce to them. Then talk about using of multiple sense organs, senses like visual, auditory, and kinesthetic. We have different kind of teaching practicals. That's methods of teaching. Aside from storytelling, it could be role play, it could be group method. Yes, we have a lot of methods we can use that the students can participate on and make them understand the lessons very well.
Okay, so let me just share something. I remember it, and I was in secondary school for years. But then I had this teacher, and I realized that her method is not something that we should throw away. Because what happens now is that we keep thinking of new methods. But I dare say there are some old methods that are standing the test of time. Not that they are still standing the test of time. She was my fine arts teacher, and she would take us out of the school. That was the escaping scene as far as we were concerned. That was beautiful. It was a field trip, but still within the school neighborhood, and tell us to close our eyes and imagine the chirping of the birds, the whistling of the wind, and all of those things. And goodness, we were doing fine art, not even English. We were not writing. And then she'll tell us, look at the trees and draw the trees. You draw the trees, you imagine the bird flowing, flying around, the butterfly and all of that. When I had my children, to get them to write English, I'll take them out of my house. I'll tell them, close your eyes. What can you see? Mommy, I can't see them. Yeah, what can you hear? Write what you can hear. And I found out that such things helped. Do we still do that in school? Can we still do that in school?
Well, we can. I did that when I was a classroom teacher. I taught CRS, Christian Religious Studies. So I think, especially when I want to talk about the parents of Jesus Christ, I take them to the field, sit under the tree. So I think we start the lesson step by step, and you will see that there will be more interest. They show more interest. Maybe because of the nature or because of the change in classroom environment, but they will participate very well. And I'll tell them this is exactly how Jesus gathered people to talk to them on the mountain. So by the end of the lesson, they don't want to go back to the classroom. And there was a time we are short of Yoruba teachers. I stayed with my grandma. I did not do any Yoruba, but I understand Yoruba. So I think that's where I translate our school song from English to Yoruba language. And my HOD then was like, oh, yeah, they call Yoruba. I said, I'm not a Yoruba teacher. I said, no. Then I was given the task to take up Yoruba. So when we get to different kinds of games in Yoruba, I'll take them out. We play this kind of a lot of things. And before you know, the students started having interest in Yoruba language before we finally had a Yoruba teacher. And when she comes, they were like, well, Mrs. Shepard to tell you the trick she's using and glory be to God. We are there now. Then I used to have a girl that I adopt. So I think she's not that good academically before she comes to my place. And the family talked down on her. When you mention I said, the glory of God. When her junior wife came out, it was just A's and few B's. And I was like, for me, how do you do this? He said, before the exam, when they teach us the topic, they will say we should turn it into song. So, for instance, if you want to say, what to say now? You say, now, you say, and she was so happy, dancing, singing, what is difficult for her to read and understand. But because of that method, she understood everything. I will not try another one that I say, yeah, sing on this. She will not say, I was like, wow. So we should not remain on one particular method. We should go outside the box, think outside the box, arrest those students based on their interests. And we talk about inclusivity in education. So no child must be left behind. By the time we are teaching them, some will understand, some will be lost, some will be imagining what is happening. We should be able to call their attention from what we think they know how to do best to make them fall in love with our topics.
I'm going to throw a curve now. You see, because we talked about going on YouTube, doing visuals, and all of that. But then it occurred to me that in today's world, I don't know what happens in Methodist Girls High School. A lot of private schools might be able to afford the screen and all of that. But I believe that cognitive learning can also go beyond what the child can see. It is good. When we were growing, we had visual aids. People drew things. The reason I'm saying this is I want you to speak to learning when the teacher is handicapped, when there's no YouTube, when the teacher does not have a laptop, when the teacher has only a big cardboard or a big board. How can that teacher teach such that the children will understand, will hear? We've talked about chunking, we've talked about sequencing, collaboration, and all of that. But we want to talk about the visual bit that helps cognition as well when there's no YouTube.
I think improvisation comes in at that particular point. We don't have to wait to get all the technology. Teachers must learn how to improvise. For instance, once to show them maybe a car, a series of cars, and we don't have something to project that. Can use cardboard to make cars and name them. Tag, this is this Kinecon, this is Toyota Wagon. We can do that, bring it into classes, into our classrooms. When they see, they will understand what you are talking about. You can take them out of the classes as a class, parked within the school premises. You can bring them out of the classroom. show them the principal star is this, the vice principal star is this. Who can tell me the model is so? And by that, I think
without the visuals.
yes.
Because as you were talking, I was thinking, I was trying to teach a group of children area, geography. And I realized that with a lot of our children that get driven to school, driven back home, just sit in the car, don't see don't see anything except the back of the car. It was difficult to get them to learn geography. But truly, the child that walks home has an idea of where he's going, turn left, turn right, and these bus stops and all of that. Well, when we talk about cognition, we want the children to be able to sense their environment and understand. I'm saying that because I believe that cognition also means that you have depth of understanding of the concept you are being taught in class. So beyond all of these, I'm just saying that there are so many ways
And take them on discussion.
you can take them on discussion. What we tried to do, what I tried to do was to say, describe for me how you get home from school. So they could say, I turned left, I turned right, I went straight, I did this, and I did that. That worked. But I want us to break down these complex things, into simpler, manageable things. When we talked about sequencing and all of that, like how will the teacher in class, because the learner is our focus for today. We want our children to be able to say, I went to school, and actually show that they went to school. How do we bring the classroom into our home environment and our street environment? Because when he was talking about the Finlands of this world and everything, I believe that is what we take the classroom out of the class and bring it home, bring it into the state, make it over. Because I think that is part of cognition. Well, oh, sorry.
Yeah, I think what they play film has become part and parcel of them. The facilities were provided by the government. And like my immediate senior brother resides in France. And the wife was talking to me about the third born that he doesn't want to write. When they're asking him questions in class, he will not answer. But when they ask another person, they'll be the one to whisper the answer to that person. But she has condemned the boy. She was like, oh, they have sent you to big mommy in Nigeria. And I told her, I don't know maybe I would say this thing also that the teacher writes off. But the mother did not write off the child, her son. She took it off from me, and she never made him to understand what the teacher wrote in the letter until a few years later when he became a prominent inventor, philosopher. When he saw it and said, wow. So we should not judge our students based on their inability. Rather, we should look into them and discover what they like to do best. And that is what is happening in all these advanced countries. When they see a child likes to sew, they take that child to practical aspects of that school, and he or she becomes prominent in that field. But in Nigeria, we believe everything is certificate. That though it is good, but we should also learn how to bring out the uniqueness in every student.
Thank you very much. We're going to take a short break now, but I just wanted to add to what she has said. I want to give an example. My daughter came home one day from school all around this cognitive learning. And what her teacher had done was to bring a very strong smelling perfume to the class, teaching diffusion. And she sprayed it from the teacher's table. And before long, even the children who were sitting by the door perceived the aroma. You know, it was like, that smells nice. That smells nice. Diffusion was taught just by that simple activity. What we are saying today to our audience is that we need to think outside the box. Cognition means helping the children to understand in depth what they are learning, but not to keep it in the classroom, but to be able to take it outside the classroom and apply it to everyday life. From that day on, I remember my daughter would say, "What perfume are you wearing? I can perceive the aroma," you know, like that, like, oh, from afar, I could smell it, because they understood that gas moved. The movement of gas, the perfume, you know, the teacher taught a lot just by that simple activity. Compressed liquid becoming gas, diffusion, movement of gas, and everything, just by one simple act, you know, activity in class. It worked wonders. There was no video, there was no YouTube, there was nothing of that. Just something that the teacher felt she could use. We're encouraging teachers today, even as we sit here. Cognition is important. The level of understanding of the children that we're teaching is very important. And I might just add this last sentence. That is what will be measured at the end of the day. Their ability to apply what they have learned in the classroom to everyday life. And the ability to decode what is happening in everyday life, drawing from what they have learned in the classroom. Thank you all for listening to us. This is just the first part of this topic today. I think we're coming back.
Yeah, so we'll just take a minute wellness break, so just stretch.
Yes.
As soon as we come back, we'll turn on our videos, take a photograph, and then we'll attend to questions. So you can drop your questions in the chat box, and in about 30 minutes, we'll be done.
Okay, welcome back, everybody. So we want you to ask questions at this time. We really would. So if you do have any questions, you can put up your hand, or you can put it on the screen. I might not be able to read it because of the distance, but we will read it all the same. And we want you to speak for the next 5-10 minutes, not more than that, to what you have been hearing, what you have learned. And if you do have anything else to add, we will be willing to hear you, because we're learning from one another. The good thing about education is that one person is not an island, so does not have all knowledge reposited in them. So if you do have questions.
That's one question.
Yes.
There's one question. How can learning be related to real life?
Real life.
Okay, I think we'll allow students to attend that. How can learning be related to real life?
Real life. Mr. Denaro, please unmute. How can learning be related to real life?
Okay, I think a lot has been said in that regard also, and there is no topic, there is no lesson that cannot be related to real life. Okay, so let's talk about weather. Let's talk about weather now. You want to teach your students about different types of weather in the world, and then okay, let's come back to Africa now. We're in the rainy season now. During the rainy season, what happens? How do we do that? What have you been doing when it rains? What are the likely illnesses that we normally experience during the rainy season? What happens? Can you talk to us in class? This is done before even entering the lessons. They are telling you, oh, during the rainy season, the weather is cold, and there is tendency for us to have the one they call catarrh. There is tendency for us to have to feel feverish. There is tendency for us to develop, if the immunity drops, and we might suffer some fever, and like that. The students are already telling you some of those things that happens during that period. What happened during the Harmattan? What happened during the Harmattan? Everywhere is dry. The weather is dusty, and then it's a little bit cloudy as well. There is the early morning dew in the morning that will not allow us, and then we have cracking lips and the rest. All these students can familiarize themselves with. They can associate with it. So when you teach it in the classroom, you are not teaching abstract forms. You are teaching real life experiences, because the students can also relate it with it. So virtually there's no topic under the sun. And I have a music background. And when I was teaching music, there are different types of musical notes. We have the semi-brief, the minim, the crotchet, the quaver, the semi-quavers in those days. So some of the things I do to bring that thing closer to my students is I bring the different notes of the denominations of our currencies. So I bring it to them. The highest one, I term that one as the semi-brief. The next one, let us assume now that the highest note we have now with us now is a 1,000 naira note. So that is my semi-brief. Now, and I'm teaching a meaning, and when I'm telling the students, two meanings make one semi-brief. Okay, so can I get two 500 naira notes? So when you add 500 plus 500, it will give you 1,000. So it simply means that when you have a meaning note, which is 1,500, another one meaning note, it will equate the semi-brief you are looking for. And you can cascade it down like that to the last note. So when you do this with the students, there is no way they can ever forget what you are teaching them. And you can use virtually every topic under the sun. And I've said it before, if you are finding it difficult to relate to real life experiences about what you teach, there are so many sites you can go. The Britannica is there. Encyclopedia Britannica is there. Khan Academy is there. And the one that is nearest to us, which is the YouTube. YouTube can give you virtually everything you want these days. And that's why, like I said earlier on, that we, as a matter of fact, this particular symposium today, all of us that are on this call, we need to go back and educate our educators also, to train them to know what we're talking about, because that's the only way where what we have done today will actually have an impact. Begin to tell them that your teaching has not been done if it does not have a real life experience with the students. Thank you very much. I don't know if I've answered that.
Yes, in a way, yes, you have. Do you have anything to add to that?
Well, like when I was a CRS teacher, and I want to teach them about the death of Jesus Christ. I asked them, how many of you have baby sister or baby brother at home? They raise their hand. They're familiar with babies. Yeah. Then we don't have all this technology then. So I cannot afford to bring in this mannequin then, maybe that. So we use the cardigan and wrap it like a baby. So the field, they all carry the so it is applicable to them that this is how babies are carried. So they can understand how baby Jesus looked when he was born. And I think and so on and so forth.
So
Yeah, I have a question.
no, sorry,
Yeah.
just a minute. I just wanted to add to that. So let me just make it a bit more practical. Still giving my example of diffusion and the movement of gas. Everyday life, you enter your kitchen, your gas is leaking. You need to be able to perceive the smell of the leaking gas so that you do not strike the match, so that it does not explode in the kitchen. That is some way we can teach children, how to bring the classroom to the house. I'll give another example. I was talking to a group of physics students. I don't teach physics. I don't know anything about physics, or chemistry. I'm an arts person. But this child went on to explain to us the different weights of gas and why some gases will be used as aviation fuel and how some will be used for diesel or whatever. It all depended on the weight of the gas and how fast it would move. And in that class, everybody suddenly became excited because suddenly they began to understand that the gas at home is different from the gas that is used to fly a plane, and it is different from the gas that you put in your car. It began to, their understanding changed with a lot of things. Same with pressure, same with walking on the streets, objects dropping, why one will break and the other one will not break. Wait, simple things like that we take for granted. If we teach the children how these things are different and how they affect everyday life, then we will be able to say to them, this is how it is done in real life, and this is how we can bring the classroom to the house or to the home, just by thinking about a lot of things. Thank you. You were going to say after that.
Yeah, I actually wanted to follow up with my personal question, but we have questions in the chat, so let me just quickly read it. One from Patience. She asked, how can a teacher cope with slow learners and fast learners at the same time? Mr. Taibsa?
Okay, that one is simple. It's rather easy, and that's why what we have been talking about since morning, that we are not permitted to teach the students at the same level. Truth be told, some of these students will still require remedial. Some of them will still require remedial after the lesson because of the learning gap, low rate of learning. Some of them will still require that. But one of the people that strongly believe that when you break down the topics and you don't cloud them with so many things at the same time, they learn. And it's easy to go about that when they don't. In some schools, they've been able to differentiate the classes. Some according to their grades in school. Some schools have done that already. So if I want to teach the ones they call it differentiation. If I want to teach the ones in the A that are scoring between 190 or 80, and it's not the same way I will have to. So The practical experiences I will use for those students that are slow learners in code. We call them slow learners because we've not been able to get their learning pattern. And that's the work of teachers. We really need to get to know their learning patterns, to know how we can get the best out of them. Some of them are slow learners, some of them have short attention span. And if you don't get them in the next 10, 15 minutes, you've lost them. Some of them are like that with different learning difficulties. So we must, as first and foremost, get to know the level of their learning difficulties and their learning assimilations. When we know that, we will be able to profile solutions to what we will do in helping them for that. Like I said, some of them will still need remedials because I remember in those days, I'm a twin. My twin brother, once like this, he's gotten everything. And yours truly will have to go and read 2-3 times. And I know some of us are like that as well. So it requires patience from the teacher also to say, okay, once the teacher asks a question in class, he does not expect the young guy that is at the 90 level and the one at the 50 or 60 level to react the same way. You can begin to prompt that one that is down. Prompt him. What if you do it this way? What if you did it? And as even if you get it wrong, just say, okay, what if you go around and use another method? And the moment you start getting it, just using encouraging words, fantastic, well done. This is good. This is the way to go. You are learning. Oh, very good. And we appreciate so and so and so and so. By the time you start doing that, the students already start having a sense of belonging. After all, I know this thing. I need to put in more effort. And by the time you start doing that, you start getting positive results. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr.
So we'll take.
No, you have anything?
Oh, well, you have said a lot about it. Like in my school, sometimes they will practice what we call. So really, I give them to GS1. We give them welcome test. Okay. Based on that test, we group them. Those that score 85% and above will be in A class and so on and so forth. So it has disadvantages too. Because some parents are like, all the students in a C class are slow learners. So we have to stop it. But then, like he has talked about the baskets, more time should be created for the small learners outside the 40-minute classroom teaching.
If I might just add to that, so this is what I hear Mr. Dinari was saying. So we have different ways. Some people do differentiation. Some children will need extra classes, so to say, which the school can organize sometimes, or which some parents would organize. But then we also realize that children are different learning stages. Some children are late bloomers. They just don't pick up immediately. Some children catch on immediately. With this question, my fear is this, because that is what I have experienced. So there are these fast learners in class. They lose interest because the teacher is, what the teacher is saying is so basic. They already know it. They fall asleep even with their eyes wide open because they are not challenged. Teachers need to be mindful of these groups of children in the classroom. What I have seen done sometimes, I used to be a classroom teacher. What I used to do, because we didn't even have the luxury of A group, C group, whatever group, everybody was in one class. So in that classroom, I demarcated A line, B line, C line, we're all in the same class. But I knew my expectation of people who in A, and I knew my expectation of the people in B, and I knew my expectations of the people in C, and I knew that I could encourage the C to move to B and then to move to A. Before long, everybody was nearly on the same level. So teachers need to be observant. Observatory adequacy is something that teacher must have all the time.
Sorry, I don't know if I could quickly add to that. I don't know. Can I go on?
Yes.
Yes. From what she has said now, that the students that are high flyers, let's use that quote now, that if they're not really managed very well in class, the tendency to just get bored, and they say because they already know it, and while you are concentrating on that. That is why educators must make the class very, very interactive. That is why they must make it interactive, such that both the high flyers and the other ones also can relate. Because at the end of the day, no child, like you rightly said, ma'am, must be left behind. And the knowledge of those high flyers must rub off on the other ones as well in the class. So at the end of the day, if the class is very, very interactive, it will bridge that gap a little. It will bridge that gap where everybody has a stake, everybody has something to offer, something to contribute in the classroom. Thank you very much. Just felt I should make that point as well.
Very much, sir.
So, do you know most of those students that will categorize into high class are just extroverts?
That's true.
You're raising their hands because they know you believe they know it. You might not call them because you think you know it, but they may not know it.
So the children can just use that as the trick, to get the teacher to overlook them. So the teacher, the job of a teacher, I find very interesting. I find that the teacher has so much, and we do not give that credit to teachers. We don't give the teachers enough credit for all that they have to manage in the classroom, leave their own behind and take on these 30, 50, 60 children and manage them for 8 hours every day. Anybody look have anything to add to that? We have, how much more time do we have? We have 5 more minutes. So,
Wow.
yes.
Okay, I'll just quickly read the question. We have another question from Oladichi. When parents want you to perform magic, that you are a teacher, okay, on a passive student, what should be done?
Mr. Dinari, you have 1 minute to answer that question.
Okay,
Parents,
this one. These schools have been making mistakes, and mistakes because we are not the only people involved in the learning process of our children. We should involve the parents as we move on a daily basis. So the parents will not expect magic. They will not expect magic. They know the history, they know the background. So we are supposed to be moving the students one level at a time. So it's not a case of they want us to perform magic that you are a teacher or no. If the parents know what the students are passing through and what the challenges, both the school and the home front, and we synergize and begin to teach this child one from one level to another, they will not expect magic because we're a community.
thank you very much. Mrs.
Yes, teachers are not magicians. Thank you. So we should make them like I said earlier on that. Someone said that Nigerian mentality. We want them to understand, know everything, and that it is not possible. So we have to make the parents understand that things have to be done accordingly, based on their age, their classes, the curriculum, the skill. So
Thank you very much, because you mentioned something now, their age and the curriculum. And I'm saying this, I'm sending this out to parents, no fear. The age of the child often determines his learnability. The well-able child is the child who is learning above his age. The slow child sometimes might be slow, yes, it might be past the age, but in education, the chronological age and the curriculum go hand in hand. I'm begging teachers and parents, please do not push your child beyond the chronological age of their classroom, except that child has shown exceptional ability. Then we might be able to say this child can go on. Often when we tag a child a slow learner, it's because the child is 6 years old and is in primary 4. The child is 7 years old and we are pushing him to primary 5. and he's unable to learn those things. We need to know these things as educators and help parents to understand it. I am begging us on this Independence Day of our 66th year. Perhaps somebody in government is even hearing us. We need to regularize this and regulate this story so that all this marking down and saying that our children are not performing as they should sometimes could be related to the ages. When the 6334 was done, there was an age in mind for that to be achieved, but we have circumvented it, parents, and have decided to put our 10-year-old in GSS 1 so that it can be out of SS3 by the time he's 15, 16. That was not the reason the JSS 3 or 6334 was designed at the beginning. We're saying a lot about cognition today. We want our teachers to think outside the box, as we have learned today. We would like them to use whatever resources available to them to help our children learn. And we want everybody to remember that at the heart of learning is the learner. Whether he is slow, he is fast, or he's very fast, or he's supersonic fast, he is at the heart of learning. And whatever we design so that these young ones can learn. And beyond that is that when they have learned, they can apply it to everyday life. We don't want book smart, we want worldly smart people who would learn all that they need to learn and make Nigeria greater than Nigeria is today. Thank you all for your time. Thank you, Mr. Robert, for before everybody. Tell us a little more about Upskill.
Once again, good morning, everyone, and happy Independence. So Upskill Educational Initiative, we are a not-for-profit organization, and our activities is focused around improving education outcome. And we do this by providing teacher development activities and programs like what we just have now, the Upskill Annual Symposium. The symposium holds twice in a year, on May 1st and October 1st. And I'll quickly run down on our key programs at Upskill. One is the teacher immersion course, the teacher training course, 9 months in collaboration with the University of Lagos HRTC. So information on that will be coming up, and we'll also be getting notified on updates about the TIC. We also have the leadership course. So this leadership course is designed for school leaders and aspiring school leaders. So the curriculum is designed to immerse you into the leadership and leading a school into success. We also have a mental health course for guiding educators, parents on mental health issues, and also how to prevent it in adolescents. Another key thing that needs mention is our community initiative, the PLC. And this program will go into low-resource communities and provide capacity building for them. We know that these indigent communities most times lack trained teachers or professional teachers to provide this continuous development opportunity for them. And we're able to go into the community as a result of support and donations from our sponsors, our directors, they make all of this thing possible. And also special thanks to all of our sponsors, directors, Mr. and Mrs. Shepora, and also members of the board of directors. We say thank you. We thank members of the board of directors for guidance. And also we thank all our customers, I'll use the word customers, those that patronize our programs, the TIC, the leadership, the implant training, where we go into schools and provide trainings to them. It's through you we're able to go into low resource communities. as it's a not-for-profit, we do not share profit. So as you patronize us, we're able to provide services to communities that cannot afford all of the stream. Once again, thank you very much for joining the 4th Upskill Symposium.